Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of SportsLine. I'm Brendan Rigney and alongside of me is Madison Elliott.
We have a great show full of your Lasalle sports, news, previews, and highlights.
So let's get started with some game recaps, Madison.
The baseball team opened up a 3-game series against George Washington on Friday, April 11th. By the 5th inning, Lasalle had a 6-1 lead over the Colonials thanks to a home run by Mark Williams. However, GW plated 1 run in the 6th and 5 in the 7th to win the game 8-6. In Game 2 the following afternoon, the Explorers struggled to get the bats going. Kevin Barron managed a single in the 1st inning, but he and the rest of the lineup were kept out of the hit column until the 9th, when Barron got the team's only other hit of the day. Both teams combined for only 6 hits in the game, as George Washington went on to win 3-1. The teams closed out the series on Sunday, April 13th. Sean O'Neill delivered a strong performance on the hill for the Explorers, going 8 innings while striking out 6 and allowing only 1 run. Justin Korenblatt and Mark Williams led the offensive attack for the Blue and Gold as they picked the victory 5-1.
Well, on Good Friday, April 18th, it certainly was a series of biblical proportions for LaSalle as they headed to Richmond, Virginia to take on the VCU Rams in a 3-game set. In Game 1, Coach Mike Lake sent 5 pitchers to the hill to stymie the Rams' offense, while Mark Williams and Joey Revert carried the LaSallian offense, driving in 4 runs together. The 6-3 final in favor of LaSalle gave the team a 6-5 record in A10 play. Game 2 of the series went down on Holy Saturday, and it was clear that the VCU Rams had eaten their vitamins and said their prayers the night before. The Rams piled on the runs, scoring early and often off of Explorer Joey Revert. 4 LaSalle errors didn't help their cause either, as VCU easily captured the second meeting 11-1. On a beautiful Easter Sunday afternoon, the Blue and Gold looked to redeem themselves from the prior day. Down 4-0 in the 8th, LaSalle knocked in 3 runners to close the gap. In the 9th, they managed to get 2 runners aboard, but couldn't bring them home when a rally looked promising. There were no treats in the Explorers' baskets as they lost the game 4-3.
On Tuesday, April 22nd, the team headed to the home of the Philadelphia Phillies, Citizens Bank Park, to take on the St. Joe's Hawks in the Liberty Bell Classic Tournament Championship game. The Hawks swooped in quickly, scoring 5 runs in the 1st inning before a rain delay of over an hour paused the game. 2 more in the 5th and 3 more in the 8th were more than enough to defeat the drowning offense of the Explorers as St. Joe's captured the tournament crown with a 10-3 win over LaSalle.
On Thursday, April 17th, the softball team took on UMass to begin a 2-game set over 2 days. Alicia Alton extended her scoreless streak to 14 innings, and she was able to hit a 3-run home run to give LaSalle a walk-off win in the bottom of the 7th inning. In Game 2 on Friday, the Explorers were not so fortunate as they fell to the Minute Women by a score of 9-4. Mayor Kate Scott was given the start for the game, and she gave up 10 hits and 8 runs over 5 1/3 innings. The team then welcomed conference foe Rhode Island for a doubleheader on April 19th. Alton continued and was able to toss her 3rd consecutive complete game, only allowing 1 run and striking out 4 through the 7 innings. The offense backed her up plenty, beginning with home runs from Michelle Haggerty and Emily Moran, along with runs in the 3rd and 4th innings to finish Game 1 by a score of 6-2. In Game 2, Scott and Alton shut out Rhode Island while the offense scored 8 runs to complete the doubleheader sweep. The next challenge for the Explorers was a doubleheader against UMBC on April 22nd. In Game 1 of the affair, the Explorers started early before a late rally by UMBC. LaSalle was able to pull through and score a run in both the 5th and 6th innings to win the game 5-3. The following game of the twin billing, the Explorers were not able to produce much offense as UMBC held them to only 4 hits in the 4-0 loss.
Now let's hurdle onto the track. The men's track and field team competed in split dual action at Princeton University and Temple University this past weekend. At Princeton, Rookie of the Week Chris Sanders clocked his career best in the 800-meter run with a time of 1 minute and 50 seconds. Alfreda Santana competed in the 1500-meter run, finishing with an impressive time of 3 minutes and 49 seconds. Over at Temple, both Chris Hunters and Jimmy Murphy posted PRs in their respective events, with Hunter coming in 2nd in the 200-meter dash and Murphy taking 1st in the 3,000-meter run.
The women's track and field team also competed in split dual action. At Princeton, Tori Pisco and Michelle Capozzi posted personal records. Pisco ran a season best in the 800-meter run with a time of 2 minutes and 11 seconds, while Capozzi registered a time of 17 minutes and 11 seconds in the 5,000-meter run. Meanwhile, at Temple, Taylor Hackett won the 800-meter run with a time of 2 minutes and 17 seconds. In the mile, but Galinci finished first with a time of 4 minutes and 36 seconds. The Explorers compete this weekend in the historical Penn Relays.
The lacrosse team experienced quite the exciting struggle on the 11th. Jake Smolinski has the coverage. Take a look.
It was the game of the season for women's lacrosse as they took on A10 leaders Duquesne on April 11th in front of a home crowd packing McCarthy Stadium. Coming off a string of tough A10 losses, the Explorers were hungry for redemption as they battled the Dukes. At the start of the game on this Friday night, Duquesne pounded the Explorer defense with a relentless volley of shots. They were finding their mark too as they had a 5-2 lead early in the first half. Then, out of nowhere, Lasalle buckled down with freshman goalie Gabby Antonelli acting like the Iron Curtain and junior phenom Caitlin Brostrand leading the offensive front with Tony Mazzetti and Allie Ilgenfritz. As the second half took off, we suddenly had a back-and-forth game with insane defense from both ends as the two teams went shot for shot. Then, with 1:22 to go, the score was 9-9 until Mazzetti drew a crucial foul and scored off the whistle to bring the Explorers up 1. Finally, the crowd was on their feet as the Dukes pushed back to the Explorers' side in the final minute. Like a shootout in the Wild Wild West, it was the A10's leading goal scorer Amanda Kidder versus our very own Antonelli at point-blank range. With 1 second left, Kidder ripped off a scorching shot to only get shut down by Antonelli for the walk-off win. The crowd went wild as the Explorers clinched the last-second win against the A10 leaders, and now, as the playoffs approach, we've seen that LaSalle can take down the best of the best. We hope to see them plow their way through the playoffs, and with our powerful offense and a goalie who can make 17 saves in a game, we're looking pretty good.
2 wins following this game leaves the team at 9-5 on the season, including a 3-2 conference record. The Explorers defeated St. Bonaventure on April 13 and a final score of 13-6. On April 18th, LaSalle bullied city rivals St. Joseph's 9-4 to send off the seniors with a win in their final game at McCarthy Stadium. The Explorers returned to play on April 25th against George Washington University.
The LaSalle golf team competed at the Rutherford Intercollegiate on Saturday, April 19th and Sunday, April 20th. The men's team shot a solid 14 over par in the first round. However, after some difficulties in the later rounds, the Explorers finished the tournament tied for last place out of the 14-team field. On a positive note, senior Mike Johnson led LaSalle by shooting 9 over par for the event. He tied for 29th place out of the 78 players that competed. This was the golf team's final tournament of the regular season.
After managing to snag an exclusive win against Ryder this spring season, men's tennis took 3 heartbreaking losses in a row to close out the semester. They headed across town to St. Joe's, where they were blown out 0-7 on Wednesday, April 9th. Next, the same happened down in Fairfax, Virginia versus George Mason. Finally, the Explorers headed to Charlottesville, Virginia for the A10 Championships on April 17th. They finished off the season 0-4 against the Hawks. However, junior Dale Fetterman headed into singles in the 3rd position and put up a fight. He managed to take the second set to 6-4, but could not get the momentum going to steal the final set. This highlights a young team going through the motions, and head coach Tony Green definitely has some optimism for the next season. Meanwhile, the women's team canceled the remainder of their games. We'll have more on that later.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we get back, Madison and I will be sitting down with Jake Smolinski and Eddie Dunn to discuss this past year in LaSalle sports. So, stay tuned.
We'll get you ready for the game.
Hey fellow TV viewers, are you bored? Are you tired of the same old shows? Having thousands of channels to watch, but there's nothing there. Tired of sitting by yourself on your old mama's striped couch. Sitting in your room by yourself, watching someone who resembles your grandfather. Yeah, I know. I used to be just like you. By now, all hope is lost. You're flipping through channels, wondering what to watch. Boring, 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 boring. Wait, what's this? Lasalle TV. It's new, it's bold, it's great. It's not your ordinary TV.
Welcome back. We're going to try something a little different. We're going to do a SportsLine talk, or sports talk line, or talk and line is in there somewhere. I'd like to welcome two guests to the desk right now. We have, speaks pretty quickly there, Mr. Jacob Smolinski, and don't piss this guy off. Just kidding. He's a gentle giant. Mr. Eddie Dunn. How are you guys doing?
Pretty well. Thanks for having us.
Awesome. I'm happy to have you guys on the desk with us. What we're going to do is we're going to just see what you guys think of this past season in LaSalle sports. So to begin, the hot topic, men's basketball, a little disappointing this year. So if you had to point the finger at one particular person or player, would it be Giannini? Would it be the personnel, the refs, God? I don't know. So let's just go down the line. Who would you think deserves the blame for this season?
Well, I don't think you can put the blame on just one person. You know, they had a tough season. I think the biggest thing that I noticed this season was when they would go to rebound, you know, Garland would put up a shot, and then they thought it was going to go in, and then they start running the other way, and the other team would get the rebound when it doesn't. And that's something that was consistent throughout the season, so I think that definitely did hurt them. But I don't think you can put the blame on just one person because, again, it's a team sport and everybody contributes. I just think they had an off year. And with the loss of Ramon Galloway, it kind of probably threw off their swagger a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, talking about the swagger though, I mean, Ramon Galloway, he was like the leader of the team. And with him gone, like as much as only one senior that we lost this year, that one senior, that was a really big deal because we didn't have somebody to step up into that position. I mean, Duran was putting up the points, but he didn't have the attitude for it. And I don't think he was honestly inspiring the team. And honestly, if you look back to some of like the tougher games, the ones that we really came through were like the moments where Jarrell Wright came through with like one of those dunks just to like get everybody going. And once we had the crowd, once they had the crowd behind them, that was when I guess we had our strongest moments. And when the crowd wasn't there, and we also didn't have somebody like there to I guess step everybody up. I mean, and stuff.
I agree with Madison. You can't really put the blame on one person. But I think at the end of the day, you definitely can't put the blame on the coach. It always bothers me when people blame the coach for a team's failure on the court or on the field or anything, because at the end of the day, it's the players who are on the court who have to be making plays, and if they're not doing that, then obviously they're the ones to blame. And I think a part that falls into that is the lack of leadership, as you were saying with Ramon Galloway. Without him there, he was a real strong leader last season, and this past year they didn't really have someone step up to fill that role, and I think that kind of hurt them a little bit.
That is true. I'm very happy to see none of you actually pointed the finger. My mom always said, don't point your finger. So, Mom, I'm listening. Thank you very much. Galloway was he was a big loss. Last year, the games that were close that we came back in, he had a big part in, and he wasn't there to back us up this year. In terms of swagger, some players that I'm excited for next year who aren't leaving us, Jarrell Wright. The guy has 13.3 points per game, 6.6 rebounds per game. Some of the games I covered, after he would dunk it, he was the one that got the crowd going. He's the guy that's got to step up next year, I think. Who would you say, Madison, is the one to take over that role next year?
Well, I think probably some of the big people that did really well this year were definitely Steve Zach, and then we also have Jarrell Wright. You know, Zach had the most rebounds all season. He had, let's say, 296 rebounds the whole season. So I think we're going to be looking to players like that to lead the team with the new recruits coming up. I mean, we're losing During and losing Garland, and they're the two biggest. They have the most points shot during the season. So it's definitely going to be hard having to lose them. So we're definitely going to need players such as Zach, players such as Wright, even Rohan Brown to step up and really take their leadership role. And I think these next couple of years are definitely going to be building block years for the team to build back up to get to that point where they can go back to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's a fresh start for the team. I mean, we're losing like our big seniors, and I think this kind of leaves it open for anybody who's ready to step up. I mean, a lot of these guys, they didn't get that much playing time with Mills, Durennan, Garland all stepping in for, like, honestly, most of the games. I mean, there's going to be a lot of opportunities, and that's what
there are going to be 3 seniors on the team next year: Steve, Zach, Jarrell Wright, and DJ Peterson. All 3 of them really need to step up, I think. I expect Jarrell Wright to. He did a very good job this year. As you mentioned, every time he made a dunk, he was the one pumping up the crowd that really got them into the game. So I think he's definitely going to step up. I'd really like to see DJ Peterson step up as a leader for the team. He played in every game this season. He only started 9 of the games, though. Next year, he's probably going to be in the starting lineup every single night. So he's really going to have to step up and help some of the younger guys fill the roles that the seniors who are leaving behind.
That's a really good point, because we had a lot of games you couldn't really gauge how well the rest of the team is doing, because we depended very heavily on Duren, Zach, Wright, and Garland. Speaking of Garland, he was very inconsistent this year. He shot just a .331 field goal percentage, among other things. Why do you think he was so inconsistent, Jake?
I don't know. Honestly, he did not have the attitude for it. When you see him at the games, as soon as we'd be in like a tough position, I didn't see him getting everybody, like, I guess, amped up. I'd see him on the sidelines, I guess, just with like his head in his hands, like that sort of thing. I was disappointed with his attitude this season, because coming off of last year with like the Southwest Philly floater, we did not see any of that this season. It was a completely different player, and I think honestly it still comes back to the idea of Galloway. I don't think that he's necessarily a leader. I think he's more of a follower, and if we don't have somebody that strong helping like lead the team, that's the biggest problem we have.
Yeah, that's a good point. We're going to move it along now to women's basketball. Jake, this is your forte.
Yes.
They went 15-15 this season. Did you think that this beat or met or exceeded or actually didn't meet expectations?
No, this exceeded expectations to like the nth degree, because literally like last season we went from an 8-21 record to 15-15, and especially this season we have an extremely young team. I mean, we have the team leader Alicia Cropper. She had 14.7 points per game. She's only a junior. On top of that, Micaiah Owens, 13.7 points per game. We did not have this core last year, and especially like as a young team, 500 is really, really nice, and 9-7 in the conference compared to 4-10 like last season. You can't ask for anything more than that.
Well, let's hope that carries over to the next season. We're going to move along again to track and field. Madison, over the past couple of years, LaSalle's been, just churning out these great runners. Why? I don't know anything about track whatsoever. I need to know. This is killing me here. Training regiments. Tell me all about that,
all right,
please.
well, like track, like any sport, it's all about the training. But first off, we have a really great coaching staff, and that plays a huge role in how an individual is going to do, because you need someone who's going to motivate you and be there for you and help you through, a lot of the tough spots that when you come into running, you hit plateaus and then you do bad, and it's a huge mental game. So we have our main coach. He ran for Georgetown. He coached at Yale for 10 years. He's finishing up his 3rd year here at LaSalle. And then you have Tina Muir, who is a professional runner. She's sponsored by Saucony. And then we have Tom Peterson, who also ran in college, and he's been coaching at LaSalle for this. I think he's also finishing up his 3rd year. So you have a lot of experience behind the track team that's going to help them do well. We're coming into training for cross country. So over the summer, we have a set regimen. Every single day is listed out what somebody's going to run, what days are on days, what days are speed days, what days are off days. And you have to look at everything when you're running track. You can't overtrain. You got to, have your good hard days and hard workouts, but then you need to take time off too. So it's just really monitoring how you train, combined with talent, combined with a lot of hard work. And we look at individuals like Megan McGlinchey and Alfredo Santana. They probably put in the most time out of any of the runners, and because of that, they excel and they do well. And they, we look at Nico Greco. He quit the track team and then came back once Coach Dan Ireland came to, and he wasn't the best runner of the team. And then look at him now. This season, he won the A10 championship for cross country. So it all depends on how you're training and the support you're getting. And with running, it's a huge, huge mental game. It's like, there's a saying like 40% physical and 60% mental. So it's really, you know, how you're thinking, how you're training, and the support you get. So, you know, I think we have a really great coaching staff. We have really supportive teammates, and that is what leads us to do as well as they did this season.
Okay, well, that is very informative. I didn't think there was that much thought into running, but I'm just a hopeless schmuck, I guess. We're going to move to softball real quick. They are so much better than they were last year, consistent at bat, but we're going to spotlight one player, Alicia Alton. She has a 1.51 ERA, and she's 11-7. Who wants to take this question? Jake, I'm pointing you out. What do you think she brings to the table?
Honestly, she's a consistent pitcher, and I mean, Eddie was telling me just earlier that LaSalle's only pitched 3 pitchers this entire year, and the reason it's Alton, not only is this girl able to pitch, she also has had 5 home runs and has a 287 average at the plate. Like, you don't see that many pitchers who are also this versatile all around, and I think she's just a wonderful leader for the team. If she's able to do everything, and it's awesome. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's going to conclude this. We'll be back after a short break. Guys, thank you for coming. When we come back, Mickey Kelly will be giving you the marquee matchup. Stay tuned.
That went really well, actually. That wasn't bad.
Are we getting out of here?
Learn to think and do.
Every semester, communication students create and implement public relations plans for local nonprofit organizations.
And journalism students produce Germantown Beat, an online news source for the local community.
It's great that we can apply what we learn in the classroom in our community.
Philadelphia is the nation's 4th largest media market and has 4 major sports teams.
Being in a major media market allows us to gain great professional experience through internships and co-ops.
The Communication Center is home to the university's cable station.
Lasalle TV reaches over 350,000 homes in Philadelphia and airs mostly student-produced programming.
Our communication department is ranked in the top 10 in North America for relational communication research.
But keeping with the tradition of the De La Salle Christian Brothers, teaching students comes first.
Think, do with LaSalle Communication. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter.
Hello, I'm Mickey Kelly, and welcome to another exciting edition of Marquee Matchup. Coming up later this week is the Penn Relays, where runners from all across the country will be in the city of brotherly love, competing to be the best. The Penn Relays will also have some A10 championship implications for our explorers, which brings us to runners to look out for this week. For the women's team, it's senior Michelle Capozzi. Capozzi broke a personal record at the Larry Ellis Invitational last week with a time of 17 minutes and 11 seconds in the 5,000-meter run. Let's hope she works just as hard and breaks another at the Penn Relays this week. She will be competing in the 5,000-meter run once again, and we need Michelle to showcase LaSalle well against a number of the nation's top runners. For the men's team, Alfredo Santana last week also set a personal record himself with a time of 3.49 seconds at the Larry Ellis Invitational. He will be competing in a number of distance events, such as the 500-meter and the 3,000-meter run. We are depending on Santana to bring home the gold and earn some points for the blue and gold. And now, our keys to the meet. Stay focused. The runners need to have their eyes set for the A10 championship. So the Penn Relay is a good event to keep preparing. Run fast. Many of the runners last week set personal records, and the Penn Relays can help many of our runners aim for more personal records in various events so they can be eligible for the A10 championship. Have fun. As mentioned earlier, the Penn Relays will showcase runners from all across the nation, so be good ambassadors of good sportsmanship. Run hard and enjoy the tradition and prestige of running in the relays. For this week's marquee matchup, I'm Mickey Kelly. Go Explorers!
welcome back. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at SportsLine LTV. We'll post game updates live during the show.
Also, check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/Lasalle TV. We welcome you to send us your thoughts and suggestions about either show on the website.
For Jake, Madison, Eddie, and I, and for the entire SportsLine team, I'm Brendan Rigney, and we'll see you at the game.